Terry, let's update everyone on what's happening with the IRS crackdown on Americans living in Canada. They're required to produce some serious documentation to American tax authorities about what their Canadian financial holdings are. How is that coming along?
Well, it's interesting because with the success of the IRS going after UBS back in 2009, the first program that was called the Offshore Voluntary Disclosure Initiative was created. And there was another one that came out in 2011. And then last September, they created another program that they try to make it more palatable for Americans that live and work abroad to come on board, and it's called the Offshore Voluntary Disclosure Program. But looking at some numbers here, there are apparently 5 to 7 million Americans that live or work abroad. And of all those folks, back in 2011, only 740,000 actually filed what are called FBAR, these financial bank account reports, like our T1135s in Canada. So only 740,000 filed, and only 18 have been criminally prosecuted. But these are people that clearly hid assets. And then when you look at the programs, back in 2009, a little over 11,000 people jumped on board. In 2011, a little over 12,000 jumped on board. And then in 2012, only 4,000 people jumped on board. So there's a ton of people that still don't know what to do and where they should go.
What should they do, Terry?
Well, every situation is different. I think that if you haven't dealt with this, you need to talk to somebody who understands these issues, because in next year, when the IRS imposes FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, on our traditional banks in Canada where they have to comply and provide information, it's going to be harder to plead ignorance and to fight what we call reasonable cause if somebody else is squealing on you before you squeal on yourself. And for most Americans in Canada, to the extent that we have what's called the foreign earned income exclusion, which is imposed on their employment income, and then the use of foreign tax credits, generally there's no tax owing, but there's a lot of compliance crap on top of that.
All right, so these people have got to suck it up, file the documentation. They probably won't get dinged for any taxes, but you've got to make contact with the IRS.
You do. You need to talk to somebody about this and figure out what you need to do on a go-forward basis.
Okay, thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.